Nije Nonga Boja. Nonok Jenny, Nije Nonga Boja. Nala Kak. This is Nonga country we're sitting in. This is their motherland, Kaboja. Nije Nonga Boja. Miernam was the first name of the Noongar that hunted and gathered from this country here. Translated, Miernam means coastal people. And it got a bit too hard for the Wajil to pronounce Miernam, so they changed it to Menang. All means the same today. But Miernam talks about this country here. This water is Kepi. This lake's in Cordonup as well. And all the other freshwater lake systems, which is a part of the Noongar people. When they was carers for country.
My mother was born over there just on 100 years ago. And when you look at this place, it's a living entity that provided everything we needed. So that's why it's very important here, especially to me, very emotional to a lot of us and all these little fellas here. This is part of their storyline as well, part of their connection to the place. In times past, when mother was giving birth to her children, there was a great ceremony about how to preserve the afterbirth of the child, to make sure they were connected to this country. So there was a great ceremony, and so my DNA, my DNA is connected to this place. This is where my existence, where my great-grandchildren's existence begins, from here. And our people walked along the coastline. We were called the Shell people, the coastal people. We walked along, and this was an inter-regional route that would take people from Esperance to Albany.
I got a grandfather that worked on this property, and he was born in 1897. Christopher George Penny was his name. He had a child that was actually even born on this property as well, Cyril Penny. And many, many other Noongar families, like Auntie Carol talks about, have got connections to this country. The whole people was hunters and gatherers. Hunting and gathering and collecting of food, fruit, medicinal plants in surrounding areas of this bushland. The whole story is handed down. Yeah. And you can look through the histories. Wherever there was kepi and fresh water, white people came and moved the Noongars off. Then they took over. We're back to take control and care of that country. We want to, it's our time, and we're ready for it. Buja, we want to be the carer of our country again.
Can you see what tracks you can see here? Okay, there were a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of footprints, but if you look, you'll see the footprint of something else too. See there? What do you think that is?
A bird.
A bird. There's another one there. And you know, when we come to a place like this, we can tell straight away that it's healthy and clean, because if the birds like it, you know, it must be a clean, healthy place. And we've gone to places where there's no birds, no feathers, and see how clean the lake. See, you can see some fish in there. Did you see any fish before? Yeah. Straight away you can see how clean it is, and that's why this place is important. We've got to keep it.
Fish.
Yeah, we've got to keep it clean and healthy for animals, because they're part of our totem. They're part of our ecological system. So my understanding, Mullocullup is sort of upstream that way. And because this is like, when you look at it, it's like a living entity. It's like a spiritual creature. And Miernam is the other name. That's up that way. But here is Warriup Swamp. But my understanding is Mullocullup has something to do with a little fish, where Miernam is a little turtle. And it's the spirits that look after this. Nobody owns nothing. The spirits look after it, but they're giving us permission to be here, and that's what we look for. We saw a sea eagle a moment ago, which is spiritual guardians of the land.
What's sacred should remain sacred, and all fresh water is sacred. All water is sacred. Anything of cultural significance should be sacred and treated that way.
So Taj, see that little hut down there? That is your great grandfather lived there, an old Aboriginal man. Yeah. And he was responsible for providing vegetables to the farm and to the people as they came through. But a lot of the Noongars camped up that end, and there's fresh water down there because that's where his garden is. And there's fresh water all around here. All the families there.
The big tree across the creek?
Yeah.
Right there's a freshwater spring as well.
Yeah.
Still fresh as the daisy as we speak. So there's most likely an area where there's campsites as well, near the shearing shed.
Yeah. You got to honour the spirits. You got to keep the spirits alive. Otherwise, the land will die. You know. And we've seen it in many places. The land actually dies if we haven't got that. If we don't maintain that connection there with it.
Well, it's like in the past, you know, you were taken from your homeland, you were removed from your culture, and you were reprogrammed. You know, your whole makeup was reprogrammed. And what we're talking about today is reprogramming it back to what it was. That's what's rightfully missing. So we're going to reprogram the program. You know, we've always heard the stories through campfire sort of arrangements at times, most times, on reservations way back in the day. You'd hear the old people talking about Warriup and Nightwell and Cape Ridge and, you know, different sorts of areas of the landscape.
Yeah, so this is what we call, this is my great grandfather, Munyari. His name is Munyari. Or Moses Bevan, but he, you know, a lot of our people had different names depending on where they lived. His name, he started off as Bevan, then they called him Moses Bevan, and then he was Munyari. That's an old bed, eh, Taj?
No.
That's hundreds of years old. You would have slept there. His fireplace, if you imagine, it would have been quite comfortable here, and you know, a sense of belonging that he would have had to this place, and being comfortably accommodated to be able to do his traditional obligations, you know. Yeah, he was an old man. He died here. So the Hassel family took care of him. And you know, we can talk about settlers moving Aboriginal people off, but there were some beautiful relationships, you know, lasting relationships that cement the two stories of connection to the country. You know, when it comes to birthing, a woman just didn't have a baby anywhere. Spots were chosen, places were chosen to give that child connection to country. You know, as I said, you know, the burying of the ceremony with the birth of the afterbirth of the child, there was to give that child a connection to country through that DNA into the earth, you know. And you look at the shape of it, it's a living spiritual entity. And our presence all the time adds energy to those spirits, you know. They need us, we need them.
I'm up and coming as a leader in my, you know, community and stuff. And as a young Indigenous man, I'm next in line. So it's very important that I come along to these sites with like elders like Carol and Mullocullup and learn more about the history of the place, you know. And I think it's to learn and to pass on. You got to listen to the old fellas. Otherwise, it's lost, it's gone, you know. And I won't be able to tell that story if I didn't, listen and be involved, and on country. You have to be on country to learn these things.
The LORE law, Noongar law, was about a rites of passage, right? And that was about going through a learning. And this place here, like many other areas of the land, the Budja, is connected to storylines. And this lake is on a storyline. You can't get it any more culturally significant or sacred than that. We want to bring it back in. It's a part of our heritage, it's part of our culture, and we want to restore that back as close as we possibly can. You're going to be the future storyteller.
Yeah. I want to thank you for coming, because guess what? When us old people fade away, this is your job. You've got to stand up and talk about your country. You know now that this is part of your country, so 20 years from now, you'll be standing in front of this camera talking about your country here.
It was a pretty good day today, learning about culture and about great-great-grandfather.
And the stories.
And trying to save this
Lake,
but Eugene Carol says swamp.